It's working. Hey, it's Andrew Huang. I've been exploring some ways to structure and release music that I think are pretty interesting and unique, so I want to share that with you. And in this video, I'm also going to be collecting a bunch of strange sounds to incorporate into the first installment. So to do that, I'm going to need to take you to Paris. So I'm in the Radio France building, which is massive and has a lot of stuff going on in it. But I was invited here by the GRM to do a residency here, and they're giving me this little studio with some fun gear to play with. But also they booked me one of the building's main big studios. So essentially I got invited to Paris to play with some synths. The Radio France building is nuts. They have so many concert halls and studios for different kinds of performances and recordings.
This is a Foley room.
Every type of door openings, very secure.
Yeah.
No one can get back here.
No.
And there's what they call the instrumentarium, a bunch of massive basement rooms containing approximately infinity instruments. Double basses everywhere. I like that it can be a warning siren or just a cow. Yes. Wow. Look at all these treats. So we're almost finished setting up, and we were just testing the sends to the public in here. Old pitch shift delay unit with a keyboard controller, and got it feeding back on itself and just recorded like 6 minutes of messing with it. It sounds so wild. I could probably spend a full day with just that recording, so I think this week is going to be challenging to rein in all the creative impulses. I also have 24/7 access to this place, so it's kind of the dream. So the GRM was founded in 1958 by this guy, Pierre Schaeffer, an early pioneer of electronic music. I was lucky enough to have a high school music teacher who was amazing and turned me on to his work. Shout out Mr. Taned. Schaeffer's contributions to music are immense. He came up with the concept of musique concrète, so using recorded sound as the raw material rather than thinking about melodies or notes as the foundational building blocks. He also conceived of the idea of acousmatic music, which is hearing a sound without seeing its source. He also came up with early sound manipulation tools like tape machines that let you play the speed of the tape. And since he founded the GRM, he is the reason I'm in Paris right now. And what I work on while I'm here, I hope can extend some of the ideas Musique Concrète introduced. I just wanted to get to know the gear a bit, but now I've been messing around for an hour and a half. I gotta get to sleep. Manu's here with the tape machine. Thank you. Maybe I should give you a little tour of like the gear that we have to play with here. Hordijk modular system. Just an interesting patch I landed on last night was the twin peak filter being pinged, going through the frequency shifter. And here we have the thing that I've fallen in love the most with already, and I'm probably gonna make a whole video on. Made in 1978 from a Parisian company, Publison. It's the DHM89B2. The tape machine, it's a Studer A807, new to me, but I also am in love with it. And there's an EMS synthy, just chilling. This is one of the earliest portable synthesizers, and it's known for its 16x16 pin matrix. And we've got this beautiful big mixer just so I can monitor in luxury because we are doing a hexaphonic setup. 6 Genelec monitors positioned around me that I can freely route anything to. Also, these Intec grid controllers, which I love. Just mix and match. Super fun. So I have this folder on my computer that I call Grab Bag, and it's just where I put recordings that don't have a particular home. And every once in a while when I'm stuck on a piece, I'll just reach into the Grab Bag and find something to throw into the mix. And it's surprising how often this can work out. On the one hand, it can feel like magic, and on the other, you're like, wow, something that I made goes with something that I made. Groundbreaking! Now, I discovered a fun layer to this a couple months ago when I was live streaming for my Patreon, and I was recording a synthesizer through effects to collect a bunch of ear candy for a song. And I wasn't listening to the song while I was doing it, I was just playing stuff that I thought could be used and manipulated and worked in. And later, when I dropped it onto the song, there were some great happy accidents, and that was wonderful. But the thing that I found that was really cool was taking just the raw recording I had done, cutting it up into different chunks, and layering those pieces with themselves. It created a really compelling little piece. In any case, I've been trying this out with some of the recordings I made last night, and I've discovered some interesting things. Listen to this. Like, it's so busy already, and this is just 2 layers. What I'm finding when trying to do this process with more intentionality is that I have to leave gaps. If there's constantly colliding sound, you don't feel the happy accidents. So I'm gonna try taking some of these recordings and shaping them with some more macro gestures. So the first thing is a fave of mine. You just put OTT on something and bring out all kinds of little details. All this background noise. And then did you know in Ableton, you can map an individual clip's parameters, like the transposition and warp settings. This is very transformative. When you start to explore this idea of colliding different recordings together or different segments of the same recording together, if you permit yourself to start manipulating those layers, then it's never ending. But you can come up with such cool stuff. I've been spending so much time exploring this 1 minute of audio, and actually it's probably less than a minute if you think about what it was when it wasn't pitched down yet. But that's the joy of playing with sound. That said, I think it's time to move on to any other piece of audio. Been patching the Synthy. I brought these D16s with me specifically for this purpose. I bought them specifically for this purpose because I was like, 16 by 16 pin matrix. Roll 1 for the column and 1 for the row. Randomize the heck out of this and just keep going until I run out of pins. And I was getting discouraged at first because I realized so many of the connections just won't make sense. So I was putting my pins in, not getting any sound, feeling super silly. But I decided I'm just gonna see this process through to the end. And in the last like 2 pins, it just opened up. It just became this tone monster. I got the lowdown on this unit. It's gonna be so fun to play with, particularly this shuttle control, which is just super wide-ranging control over the tape speed in both forward and reverse. I just put a couple of my recordings on here to mess with. Let's see what happens. Yo, there's a built-in speaker, and these slowed down filter pings are really distorting it in a nice way. Yeah, I need to put a mic right on this speaker. Right now we just got set up in one of their upstairs studios on the 9th floor because we could only book the big room for so many days. So this is my new home. And there are some more toys to play with. We've got a Surge system and the Coupigny. This is a completely accurate but more ergonomic recreation of a synth by the same name that was created in the late 60s, commissioned by the GRM. So there is the addition of a Hordijk Benjamin. Everything else on it, while cutting edge at the time, is now fairly standard for synthesis, but it is notable that it has 16 oscillators. Also can't forget the dad mom. Couldn't hear anything without the dad mom. Right now I've got Atelier just generating a variety of things because it's so good at that, and I'm going through the DHM, just making lots of beautiful shapes that later I'll cut. So I've been considering how to release this music of colliding layers and how, because they can also work in so many different configurations, it doesn't really feel right to actually release them in a set way. So my team and I have been working on this website for some of my upcoming releases where every time you load it, it creates a new unique version of the music by combining my recordings in different ways. And as opposed to a single master recording, I love how it produces this endless field of possibilities. And it's not that I want to stop doing the traditional release thing, but I'm exploring what other possibilities there are in addition to that. This is my third time in Paris, so I'm not feeling a huge amount of pressure to like go out and do stuff. I'm happy to spend most of my time in the studio, but there is one thing I haven't checked out before that I'm pretty pumped about. I'm getting dizzy. These are the catacombs of Paris. They were limestone quarries for like hundreds of years, like since Roman times. Then as Paris was built on top of it, all these collapses started happening. It's just like cavernous spaces underneath the city, but it gets even wilder. When Paris's cemeteries started overflowing, they started moving a lot of bones down here. They're just lining the walls. So I don't know exactly why, but I just felt really compelled to go there. I do think about death a lot, you know, memento mori. I brought that up on a podcast once when the host asked me how I stay focused, and immediately he was like, we gotta pivot. But it's true, you know, understanding how little time we have is the key to understanding how we want to use it. Tomorrow's my last day. Taking some of my footsteps from the catacombs, going through the DHM. Now I'm making some new shapes out of those. So I'm just gonna spend my last few hours collecting sounds for these pieces I'm putting together, but I wanted to say how meaningful it is for me to be here. When you make YouTube videos, it's very rare for institutions like this to give you any respect. You know, they're normally used to dealing with serious artists, and that's part of my identity, but I feel this type of tension almost everywhere. People believe so many things to be mutually exclusive. And my whole thing is that you can embrace the spectrums, whether it's highbrow, lowbrow, serious, goofy, pop, experimental, artist, YouTuber, artist, business person. People want clean categories, and it's fine to do just one thing. But it's also possible to do two things. It's been the most constant challenge of my career because some people, when they hear pop, they write you off as superficial or simple, and other people, when they hear your experimental stuff, it's like you're pretentious or it's just noise or you're not talented, whatever it may be. So when you embrace the spectrum, you get hit from both sides. So I just want to say thank you to everyone at the GRM for sharing this same openness. You see it in how they talk, you see it in their software atelier. They're not interested in imposing a viewpoint. They're interested in how they can expand on what we already have in the world of sound and music. So I actually decided to do both a static and an endlessly reconfiguring version of this album. It's out now. If you go to collisions.andrewhuang.com, you can hear the version that's different every time you listen to it. And if you search for prepared collisions on streaming services, you'll find fixed pieces that I shaped out of the material I recorded in Paris. And there are a couple reasons why I wanted to do both release methods. One is that it was important for me to put something more experimental and noise-based in my official discography. Going back to the spectrum of music that I appreciate, I didn't want to devalue the experimental approach compared to stuff that's more traditional or song-based. The second reason is that it's interesting to compare them because there's one that I manually structured into a deliberate statement, and then there's another where I organized groups of sound that I thought would go well together, but left their combinations entirely to chance. And I enjoy listening to the version that's different every time more than the one that I crafted by hand. So I'm interested to know what you think if you check out both. Links are in the description, and thanks again to the GRM for giving me the space to explore these ideas.